So in this video, I want to kind of chat about Lionheart and the immediate plan and then the ongoing plan that would kind of merge into the new owner and what they would want to do with him. If you're new here, we're running an auction with two horses, Romeo and Lionheart, and that auction is actually coming to a close relatively soon, depending on when you're watching this video. So in about 14 days or 2 weeks from now, the auction will close, and then Lionheart will hopefully have a new owner. And I'm excited. I've been talking with a lot of you guys about your plans, your ideas with him, and we'll kind of chat through some scenarios here. So what is the next chapter? What would the next chapter look like for Lionheart? So he's a 4-year-old. So at this moment in time, we're really working on establishing and solidifying as much of the base, as much of the fundamentals as we possibly can. What's kind of cool in dressage is that that never really leaves us, where even when I'm riding Grand Prix, I'm still working on those fundamental pieces. But at this moment in time with Lionheart, it looks like really solidifying all that I can in the connection with the horse, not just the connection in the rein, although that's super important, but the connection mentally, the connection in the relationship. And for me and my program, a lot of that is also about groundwork all the way through every interaction that I have with him. So it's really solidifying this foundation that can then support the training up through the levels. In terms of groundwork with Lionheart right now, a lot of that work is for me with just the lead rope and the halter, and still teaching him to be really in tune with me on the ground, and also work with those very fundamental basics of like, can he yield and respond to my body language, and simultaneously can he yield and respond to the inputs that I provide in the connection in the rein and the halter, in the lead rope. So, that's kind of this fundamental place that I work with the horses in the engagement. And then that piece builds into the other things. So obviously Lionheart is doing a lot now. He's lunging, he's, doing all the dressage things. But for me, the foundation starts with this groundwork, just with a halter and a lead rope and an engagement and a softness there. And that place is really quite endless. Like, he can do very good groundwork now, but there's still work to be done. And so I would continue working on really solidifying and continuing to build this, kind of bulk of positive experiences that make him really, really solid in staying attuned with me, listening, paying attention to the fine details of what I'm asking for. The other thing that I will say is that a lot of my work is also around the flag, the bag, and using that to infuse a little bit of energy or excitement, and then directing that excitement. I often think with horses, it's not just about, can we get them not to spook or can we desensitize them? It's about teaching them, if they do spook, how to react, and how I want them to trust me and seek my input in those times. So with a 4-year-old, I'm really working on, not don't spook. But if you do spook, I want you to try to engage with me and let me support you. So this groundwork, like very fundamental piece, is a lot. I would focus on building that and solidifying that. Simultaneously, I would always also focus on the fundamentals in the riding. So this warm-up trot, this feeling that I can go as correctly as I can, as basic as I can. This is also something that I think about a lot in the training, is I'm always looking for the most basic, slowest place where I can find a space of that I can improve on, a space or a thing that I identify and I'm like, oh, I know that I can educate him. I can teach him a little bit how to respond better, how to think more clearly in this instance. I'm always looking for the most basic components because those are the easiest to fix. Now, those a lot of time transpire in the slower things. So in the walk, I would be working a lot in the walk, in the leg yields in the walk, in the details in the bending in the walk, all of those super basic things. And then from basic, we work towards the more advanced things. So we work, training level through Grand Prix, we work on the basics the most, but still there's also that layer underneath training level where we hit on the groundwork and all of that stuff. The immediate plan at this moment in time for Lionheart, so we're 2 weeks out from the auction. So I'm going to continue working with him now, and we're going to be doing some videos, lots of engagement with the people who have already signed up with bidder numbers and everything. So if you're not signed up and you want to submit an application, that will get you access into communicating directly with me. And then I will chat with you on a more direct basis about what he's doing on a daily basis, what the training looks like, all of those things. But for now, it's a similar program for Lionheart. We're still around 4 days a week working. Monday, Tuesday working, Wednesday kind of a trail day or a groundwork day, something like that, and then Thursday, Friday working, and then Saturday, Sunday rest. That's kind of my normal program with most of the horses, and we'll kind of continue that on, through the end of the auction. But it's, we'll be doing a lot of videos and things like that. So then my plan would be post-auction. It depends a little bit how we mesh up with the new owner and what the plan becomes post-auction. So we're gonna have to kind of blend that together and then make a good plan moving forward. Now, some owners, the plan would be to send them immediately to their program, and that's okay. So in that case, it would be, when is the shipper picking up? When will he be leaving? Preparing him until that moment, and then making a cohesive plan with that owner and that trainer in that program to say, this is what he needs. This is where he's at in the training. I'm kind of delivering all of this information, and then we get them into their program doing their things. Another path or another option is that he stays here for some time. I've done that many times with selling horses. They stay here at our barn, and then people either fly in or, depending on how close they are, drive and train a little bit with me, really get to know the horse before they take them home. That's a third option, or a second option, third option. And finally, there's the option that he could stay here and be developed. So one of the things that I really do like about buying young horses is you get this very clean slate. And it is also an option that he could stay here and I can develop him for you or for your training program. And he can stay here for a year, 2 years, all the way through, indefinitely. And I can continue working with him and folding that in with you and your intentions of what you would want to be doing with the horse. So that's another option as well. But so the plan moves forward until the auction close. We find the new owner. We figure out what the cohesive plan is moving forward. And I collaborate with you guys to kind of make that change as seamless as possible. Yeah, so the adjustment period, there is obviously going to be an adjustment period. That's no doubt, no question, whether you're buying a Grand Prix horse or a 4-year-old, there's this adjustment period where they need to get to learn you need to get to learn them. And I always tell people when they come try horses, like I feel there's a palpable energy when people try horses, that they feel a moment of miscommunication often with the horses. And I try to quell that in their being, because oftentimes there's amateurs trying horses and things like that. And I like to tell them and reassure them, like, I'm a professional. I've done this for years. And when I go ride a horse that I don't know, it's hard for me. And I think that speaks to the nature of what we're doing with horses. This is this like super delicate feel-based communication. And what we want in dressage is for that to be delicate and personal and fine and sensitive in the best of ways. And so I always encourage people through that transition process of getting to know a new horse to be really patient and really forgiving. And also to just go really, really slowly. A little bit like I was saying earlier, like when you slow down or you go really basic, then you can build this foundation in the most productive way. You don't always want to get stuck there, because I think it's important also to stretch, to try new things, to try to, teach the horse different things. And sometimes we get only stuck and limited to the basics. So you don't want to get stuck there. But in an adjustment period, you really want to go super basic, make things really easy, go back to groundwork, solidify these things, and kind of try to make that transition as seamless as possible. In terms of a realistic timeline for that transition to take place, it's so hard. People ask me that sometimes, like, well, how long should I give myself, or what's a good timeline? Those questions are nearly impossible to take. It's not like, oh, it takes a month and then at the end of a month, you're done transitioning. It's really this like, once you own the horse, it's a endless refinement. You're stepping one step at a time through this journey. So I wouldn't approach it necessarily as, oh, I'm going to have this adjustment period, then the adjustment period is going to be over, then I'm going to be, doing what I'm doing. I also think that's important to speak to in terms of it's a challenge, because when we set out to look for a horse, we build this ISO, this like, I'm looking for this horse with these criteria. And then as we transition into owning a horse, we jump into dressage itself, where we're reflecting upon ourselves, what we can do. We're feeling our horse and interpreting what's going on with them, what's happening with them, and trying to like gel through that process. So figuring out and navigating that is challenging, and it's not defined, it's not concrete, it's not simple. So be patient with it and just use as much feel as you can through that process. In terms of the specifics of the more dressage movements, so Lionheart has been working towards second level. He is, a 4-year-old obviously now, will be 5 next year. So he's working on those counter canter loops, working on the leg yields, working on some of those things that are a little bit more advanced. And then the half steps in hand, which are really helpful for him actually. They, like, whenever I'm training a horse, I try to find where they're super talented, and it's not linear for me. Like, so if they have a place where maybe they're more advanced in the canter and behind in the trot work, I don't just shy away from the canter. It's just like a child, If they're very advanced in something, sometimes they like doing that, and that's easy for them. And so I'll work more on the canter and work on their strengths, build their confidence, and then that will also in turn support their weak places. So I've tried to really do that in my mind, especially with weak points. If I'm fixated on weak points, sometimes I get negative focused. I don't want to do that in my training. I want to try to find a positive way that I can train And that means sometimes working on the strong pieces and flowing around those resistance spots and building the support system that can then help us get beyond those pieces. In terms of competition potential for Lionheart, I think it's a great horse. You could go show him in the 4-year-olds this year or training level, first level this year. You're aiming for that 5-year-old test next year if you wanted to do that, or, you know, second level somewhere in there. But that's not really, you know, in the forefront of my mind. In the forefront of my mind is developing the horse to the best of my ability, providing the strongest foundation that I can to help him get through to FEI, to Grand Prix. And so that's kind of like this secondary thing. If he's ready to go show, I'll go show him. If he's not, I'm just going to stay home and work on the training and do field trips with him and, you know, make him really solid. That's kind of my focus. In my feeling, I feel in Lionheart that he is a horse for the upper levels. Like, it's a horse that I think will take some time to develop, but it's really a horse that gives me some very good feeling in terms, especially in the half steps in hand and the talent that he has there, but also in the feeling and the ride and the balance, some of the places that he can come in his body. That said, I also think it's important to articulate here that, and I've learned this through the years, this isn't something that I knew right away, but you have to have some patience with these horses. So don't be in a rush with it. You know, we don't have to have him go too fast. He just has to be as he is right now. And he has a lot of maturing in front of him to do. So at this moment in time, it's not so much pressing as much as developing patiently and being like working in the best way we possibly can. Let's see. In terms of the daily program with Lionheart, he goes in the turnout 45 minutes to an hour. He goes every morning on the walker for about 20 minutes. He's super on the walker. And he likes the walker, actually. And then, you know, we work him, like I said, 4 days a week, and with a easy trail day, and then or groundwork day, and then 2 days off for the weekend. So that's kind of his current program. You know, in another barn, whether you don't have a walker or whatever, I always think the more turnout, the better. Like, if he could be outside all day, that'd be awesome. I would love that. We don't have a lot of space here, so any program that he goes into where he gets a lot of space is going to be really great for him. Current diet, I think he's on 5 flakes of Timothy, and maybe 1 flake of alfalfa at night. And so I try to spread out the hay as much as I can. That's obviously the best for the horses. So very early morning feeding, and 2 feedings during the day, and then a feeding very late at night. Try to spread that hay out as much as you can so that they're always kind of grazing on something. In terms of grain, he's on Purina, just a very basic grain, Ultium, and a basic supplement that kind of covers everything. I can talk to you about the details there. But really, it's a very simple horse in that way. I'm not trying to do too much with the feed. It's a very basic program at this moment in time, and you know, everything else is normal. Right now he's just in front shoes. You could put him in hind shoes, but there isn't really any need here. He's not really on rocky ground or ground where he's chipping up his hind feet. He has good feet. So that's kind of where he is. What's the biggest hope for Lionheart's future? I mean, so it's been a cool process with this type of auction because I've really had the opportunity to get to know some of you guys and see a little bit more who you are, what you're looking for, what your barns look like, what your plans would be for him. And that's been really nice. So, you know, the biggest hope is that Lionheart goes to a program where he is happy and cared for and engaged with and like horse centered, you know? So that's really the focus, and figuring out somebody that's really going to pair well with him. Obviously, like sometimes with horsemanship, we, click with certain horses and other horses we don't. And that's okay, I think. I think it's a balance point of letting the horse push you to grow and to change. And other times you just want to, feel like this is my horse. And that those aren't always opposite ends of the spectrum. Sometimes they're convoluted. So sometimes there may be a part that's struggle, or oftentimes with horses, there's a struggle part, but there's also a part of the journey that is just loving them, and having an awesome time with them. And I think they feel that too. When you have a horse that you bond with and connect with and enjoy being around, horses feel that. So that's kind of my vision for him, is to find somebody that can kind of realize that with him and form this partnership that they can then go through and grow together. One of the things that I think is really important is we're looking at a 4-year-old horse here. And for me, that's one of the coolest journeys in dressage, is from, 4 to 9. That space is where so much change and growth happens. Not only for the horse, but for the person who is involved training them and riding them. And so I'm looking at that space in the training, and just looking for somebody who is on board for the ride, wants to jump in with Lionheart and commit to that evolution and change and growth. That's what dressage is about to me. It doesn't mean that buying an older trained horse is necessarily wrong, but I do think it's really beautiful to be along for the ride with some of these young horses. And it's really admirable. And it's something that, I think about this oftentimes with Bodo, where he's 8 years old now, and I've had him since he's 3. And it makes me feel really proud, and I really know the horse really well. And that's something that I won't have if I acquire a horse when they're trained or already through some of those things. So it's that journey piece is something that's really powerful. So I'm hopeful that he can pair with somebody who can commit to that and then grow and kind of embrace that part of the journey. Yeah, I think that's about it. Hopefully this video helps. And I want to talk with you guys. If you're really interested in him, reach out to me, and then I will help you, kind of work through some of these things, see if it's a good fit, see if it's not a good fit. And then we can kind of make a plan together with you as to what does your program look like? How do we make a transition to your program? Or does he stay here and you come train with me? Or how do those things work? So thanks for watching this video. Down in the description, I will put some of the links and some of the things about the auction if you're interested. And if you're watching this post-auction, post-close, I'm going to leave it up on the internet because I just think there's a lot of information in this that can be used for the next horse or for the next person who's trying to buy a horse. So I'll leave it up, and yeah, it's nice to chat with you guys. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, leave them down below and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. All right.